Vaccine eligibility opens to all adult residents of Kansas and Oklahoma. Plus, the Pittsburgh girls soccer team prepares to take the field for the first time ever. And a change is coming to the way you dial, how it's connected to the new suicide hotline.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
800,000 more Missourians are eligible for COVID-19 vaccines. This is a late edition of KOAM News at 10. Missouri today entered phase 2 of the state's COVID-19 vaccination eligibility plan. This opens up eligibility to Missourians employed in construction, critical manufacturing, and remaining food sectors, and includes those working in restaurants. Larry Bergner from the Newton County Health Department stresses how important it is that food service employees are now eligible.
In the restaurant sector, they need to be vaccinated because they're dealing with a large amount of the public as they come in to those dining facilities, and then those who are working in the kitchens and doing the other work in the restaurant, they need to protect themselves as much as possible.
On April 9th, Missouri will enter phase 3, opening up eligibility for all adults in the state. State of Kansas moves into the last phase of the coronavirus vaccine distribution. That means everyone in the state 16 years and older is now eligible for the vaccine. Walker Drug in Baxter Springs today held a small vaccine clinic, something they originally hadn't planned on doing, but chose to do after getting calls from people interested in the vaccine. And many of our local health departments will continue to offer vaccine clinics that are appointment-based.
But at some point, if the numbers don't sustain the number of people that it takes to put that on, then we'll probably explore some different options, whether that's in-house vaccinations at the health department or going to different locations throughout the county, kind of a scaled down version of what we're doing currently.
A few walk-in clinics are scheduled in Crawford County this week. We have more information about those on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Oklahoma today entered phase 4 of its COVID-19 vaccine rollout plan. That means, like Kansas, Oklahoma has now opened vaccines to all residents age 16 and older. Governor Kevin Stitt and state health officials held a press conference today about the move. The governor says nearly 2 million vaccines have already been distributed in the state. A new study shows vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna work as expected in real-world conditions. The CDC followed nearly 4,000 healthcare workers and first responders to see how the vaccines are working. Some of them had received both doses, others one dose, and some had not been vaccinated at all. Researchers found both vaccines were 90% effective at preventing infections, even asymptomatic ones. They also affirm both shots are 80% protective after just a single dose. These results are what scientists expected based on clinical trials, but those results don't always match up to what happens when real-world conditions are introduced. The CDC is extending the order to halt some evictions through June. Many Americans are having trouble paying their rent because of the pandemic. The order originally issued in September has been extended twice already. The latest deadline was set to expire on Wednesday. The CDC says evictions could hinder efforts to slow the spread of COVID-19, but landlords say the order puts the burden on property owners. There have already been several legal challenges to the CDC moratorium. The Department of Justice is appealing a ruling from a federal judge in Texas stating the eviction ban is unconstitutional. Checking in with Doug Heddy now on this pleasantly warm but very windy day, Doug.
It is very windy across the region, but temperature is actually still pretty good. Most of us are sitting into low to mid 60s after we went to 73 earlier today, but we also had winds gusting near 50 at times, so give or take there. But pretty much clear skies, and we're going to have clear skies throughout the overnight hours. We'll start to get a few mid and upper level clouds trying to sneak in late tonight with our next storm system, which is out across the northern parts of the Rockies, and this will start to affect us by the time we head into tomorrow and kind of change our weather up a little bit. Tonight's just going to stay mild. It's going to stay windy. We'll drop back into the mid 50s, but you can see the winds still howling. We have those south winds at about 15 to 25 sustained And then, of course, we're getting gusts 30 upwards to 40. 51 by morning, 58 by 10, up to 65, and then we drop during the afternoon back into the 50s. Slight chances for a few thunderstorms. I'll talk about that here in just a bit.
All right, catch you then. Thanks, Doug. Joplin officials held a briefing today to provide an update on the COVID-19 vaccine and cases in the city. Officials say they've ordered 160,000 doses of the vaccine and expect everyone in the city to have the opportunity to get one by the end of May. They also touched on the city's finances, saying around $200 million in building permits have been filed recently, leading to a lot of construction. Mayor Ryan Stanley says that's a positive sign as the city emerges from the pandemic.
When you're seeing local businesses that have other plants all over the country, maybe even all over the world, where they're getting more output out of their Joplin facilities as they're getting from other places, I think Joplin really has shown our ability to work.
City officials say Joplin is ahead of the state when it comes to vaccinations. 31% of the city's population has received at least the first dose of a vaccine versus an average of 24% statewide. It's the million-dollar question. What can Americans safely do and not do after being fully vaccinated? Well, right now, a trial is underway to help come up with an answer. Mandy Gaither has more.
They're doing their part to help stop the spread of COVID-19, rolling up their sleeves, getting fully vaccinated. Still, there's a lot they're advised not to do, but a new clinical trial may change that.
This will help inform science-based decisions about mask use and about social distancing post-vaccination.
Right now, for those fully vaccinated, the CDC is still advising against travel and continues to recommend masks and social distancing unless around a small group of other fully vaccinated people or with those who are low risk, unvaccinated, and from a single household. The trial now underway is looking into how COVID-19 may spread by studying 12,000 college students at more than 20 universities across the U.S.
We hope that within the next 5 or so months, we'll be able to answer the very important question about whether vaccinated people get infected asymptomatically, and if they do they transmit the infection to others?
One group of 6,000 students will get Moderna's vaccine immediately. The other half will get the vaccine 4 months later. The students will fill out questionnaires and will swab their noses daily, as well as provide blood samples. Their close contacts will also provide samples.
When these people get infected, how often is that? If they're asymptomatic, how much virus do they have in their nose? And do they transmit it to people who are their close contacts?
Those answers will help form recommendations on the future for the fully vaccinated. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The trial could answer whether fully vaccinated people will still need to keep physical distance from others and continue wearing masks so as not to get other people sick. Still ahead, why the city of Carl Junction is reintroducing a proposed use tax to voters. And the latest on the trial of Derek Chauvin, the Minneapolis police officer accused in the death of George Floyd that sparked protests across the country. City of Carl Junction, Missouri is reintroducing a use tax. Now, if passed, it would tax online purchases at an amount equal to the city's sales tax, which is 3%. City officials say it's needed to fund improvements to city parks, sidewalks, and streets. Residents can learn more about the proposed use tax at a meeting tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at Randy's Drive-In. Most Kansans and Missourians will soon have to dial all 10 phone number digits when making local calls. The change applies to people living in area codes 620 and 785 in Kansas and 417-314-660 and 816 in Missouri. It's because of an FCC decision last July approving 988 as the new abbreviated number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Callers are encouraged to begin using 10-digit calling for local calls on April 24th. It's a sort of practice period. Beginning October 24th, callers must use 10-digit calling or the call will not go through. The Biden administration today announced a massive coordinated effort to bolster offshore wind energy projects in the U.S. The new initiative spans multiple agencies, including the Departments of Interior, Energy, and Commerce. They have a shared goal of generating 30 gigawatts of offshore wind in the U.S. by 2030. The White House says that'll create tens of thousands of new jobs.
The president recognizes that a thriving offshore wind industry will drive new jobs and economic opportunity up and down the Atlantic coast, in the Gulf of Mexico, and in Pacific waters. It will also generate enough power to meet the demand of more than 10 million American homes and avoid 78 million metric tons of carbon emissions.
The Biden administration wants the U.S. powered entirely by a clean grid by 2035. The trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin got underway today with opening statements and several witnesses. He faces murder and manslaughter charges in the death of George Floyd last May, which sparked massive protests all around our country. Michael George reports from outside the courthouse in Minneapolis.
Activists took a knee outside the courthouse just before prosecutors told jurors why they need to find former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin guilty of murder.
Mr. Derek Chauvin betrayed this badge when he used excessive and unreasonable force upon the body of Mr. George Floyd.
Then the jury watched all 9 minutes and 29 seconds of a video taken by a witness, Chauvin's knee on Floyd's neck the entire time.
He put his knees upon his neck and his back, grinding and crushing him.
I can't breathe. Floyd said he couldn't breathe more than 20 times. The defense said Chauvin didn't cause his death, blaming a heart condition and drug use.
And you will learn that Derek Chauvin did exactly what he had been trained to do over the course of his 19-year career.
Chauvin is charged with second and third degree murder and second degree manslaughter. The second degree murder count carries up to 40 years in prison. The first witness was a 911 dispatcher who called a police sergeant after watching what was unfolding during Floyd's arrest on a surveillance camera.
There just something wasn't right. I don't know how to explain it. It was a gut instinct to tell me that now we can be concerned.
Throughout the trial, the courthouse is being protected by fencing, barricades, and the National Guard. The protests so far have been peaceful, but the city is preparing for the worst.
I have confidence in that judge. I have confidence in the jurors that this man will be convicted.
The trial is expected to last up to 4 weeks. Michael George, CBS News, Minneapolis.
Doug Hetty is up next with his complete forecast, and later the Pittsburgh girls soccer team prepares to take the field for the first time ever.
Well, it turned out to be a very mild but very windy day for us today. At times, we had winds gusting 40, pushing 50, which is really cranking out there. But the temperature is great, warm as we did go into the mid-70s. For afternoon highs. In fact, March is almost done. We got a couple more days, but look at this month. I mean, especially after February. February was so cold, and then this month, over three quarters of the days have been above average for this time of the year. So we'll definitely take that after we saw a pretty good weekend. Crystal clear blue skies all day long. Nice time lapse. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. And of course, Indigo's just outside of Seneca, Missouri, but the allergies have been really high. We need a nice widespread rain to kind of wash out the atmosphere for a couple days, but if you are an allergy sufferer, especially the juniper, elm, maple trees, it's causing some issues. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 out of 10 today, 10 out of 10 once again tomorrow. Temperature is still pretty good. Most of us low to mid 60s. Will eventually drop back into the mid 50s later on tonight, but the winds are still very strong. Not quite as strong as what we had when the sun was up, but they're still pretty strong. Sustained 15 to 25 miles per hour. And then we've been getting gusts still in that kind of 30 to 40 mile per hour range. It's going to stay windy tonight. It's going to stay windy for us tomorrow. Tomorrow's not going to be as windy as today, but still, it's going to be windy. Pretty much clear skies right now. Nothing is going on here, but we do have our next storm system, which we are watching moving into the western high plains. And in the pattern, this system roughly about 46 days ago was the one that gave us the big snow on Valentine's Day and then the Arctic blast once again. This time it's going to cool us down, but it doesn't have any Arctic air, so we don't have to really worry about that. And we may get a little bit of moisture out of it, not much for most of us. Tonight, some mid and upper level clouds increase late. We'll see mostly cloudy skies tomorrow, but we're going to warm into the mid-60s. Now, here's the noon hour. You can see really our cold front right along the I-44 corridor. North of I-44, you got north winds. South of I-44, you got southwesterly winds. Late in the afternoon, along that front in our very far southern counties, we'll get a few scattered showers and thunderstorms that try to get going. But most of us are going to stay dry from this. We'll start at 51, 65 by noon, and then we'll drop back to 56 during the afternoon. But still, we're going to have south winds 10 to 20, and then eventually north winds at 10 to 20. Tomorrow night, clouds stick around there on the backside of this system. We may get a few showers, maybe even mixed in with a few flakes of snow as we head into Wednesday morning. So we'll watch that, but definitely it will cool down just a bit. Best chances for rain, at least tomorrow, you can see our far southern counties, Mount Vernon, Monette, Cassville, maybe Anderson, Bentonville, over toward Grand Lake. Everybody else should stay dry. We're going to be cool for a couple days, but we start to warm things back up. So Friday looks good, weak system Saturday, but in general, Easter looks pretty good as our temperatures warm right back up. 65 tomorrow and dropping. 52, that's it, on Wednesday, 56 on Thursday. Look at the weekend, 66 Saturday, Easter Sunday, high temp of 70. Slight chance for a shower, but most of the weekend again is going to be pretty nice.
Yeah, looking forward to another nice weekend. And,
yeah, another weekend to get outside, do some outdoor activities or chores, which I did.
Yeah, so did I. A lot of us did. Thanks, Doug. Still ahead, it's opening day for Colgan softball. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
Today is opening day for the Colgan softball team. Colgan has an interstate matchup right off the bat, hosting the Liberal Bulldogs. We'll pick up today's game in the top of the first. Caitlin Crossland doing her thing in the circle. 7 strikeouts for Crossland in just 3 innings. The bottom half, Colgan does damage early. Grace Wixon back up the middle. Allie Marietta scores. Panthers on the board first. Later in the inning, Lauren Yagmore gets one through. Emma Brill and Gabby Riddell both come home. At that point, it's 5-0 Colgan. Check this out, though. They're not done. Ashley Marietta at the dish now. Hits it over everybody in right. 2 runs score, but Marietta turns on the wheels. Rounds third. She slides into home for the inside the park homer. All Colgan today. Panthers take their opener 15-0. To football now, after a big win over 10th-ranked Southern Illinois, Missouri State now moved up to number 19 in the latest FCS rankings released today. They're 4-4 overall. They're actually 4-1 this spring after going 0-3 in the fall. Now, the Bears' next 2 games have been canceled, so their only game left in the regular season is on April 10th, hosting Youngstown State. The Pittsburgh High School girls soccer team will play its season opener tomorrow night at Carthage. That's the first game ever for the PHS girls program, and it's the result of 2+ years of work from a pair of girls on the team. 2 years ago, it was just an idea.
We just wanted to provide a different outlet for girls that did want to play, because originally we only had 2 people playing.
Natalie Talent and her teammate Katie Rodriguez were playing with the boys on the PHS co-ed soccer team in 2019 until they decided it was time to have a team of their own.
As soon as the girls went through that process and got the approval from the school board, we just saw a massive increase with the interest and the numbers that came out to play.
Now we have a team of 26 girls that you never would have known liked soccer if there wasn't a girls soccer team.
The Pittsburgh girls play their first game in program history Tuesday night against Carthage. Their entire 10-game schedule is made up of teams from Missouri or teams from Wichita, Topeka, or Gardner, Kansas, with a lack of other girls soccer programs in southeast Kansas.
You know, we're just doing what we can to do things now that will lead to success later. You know, maybe once we get our program established, other schools can do the same.
For Talent, it's not about the wins and losses, it's about opportunity.
There are a lot of people that don't think we should have started, that we wouldn't have enough girls, you know, that our school's not big enough, and that the program will drop off after the momentum of getting the first team. And I think it's a great opportunity to prove those people wrong.
And regardless of how this season goes, she knows that idea 2 years ago has turned into something that will have an impact on this team and the girls that come after.
20 years later, I'm going to look back and I'm going to think, wow, 20 years ago we started soccer. It was just really powerful to think that it just takes a couple conversations and something big can happen that can change a lot of people's lives, because soccer is not just a sport to play, but an outlet for a lot of people and a place to come together and blend culturally and blend, with so many differences.
Pittsburgh plays at Carthage tomorrow night before they play their home opener on Thursday against Neosho. We're back with more news after this.
Take time now to honor a local veteran, Sergeant James Mayer. The Monette, Missouri native served in the U.S. Army, and we are proud to salute Sergeant James Mayer, tonight's 4th state hero. Let's check back with Doug for a final look at the weather.
All right, Dal, looks like for us tonight, we're only going to drop back into the mid-50s for lows. 65 by noon tomorrow, and then we drop into the 50s during the afternoon as a cold front pushes through. And there's a slight chance we could get a random thunderstorm in our southern counties. Everybody's going to mainly be dry. Colder tomorrow night, and then a few showers back in by Wednesday morning.
Thanks, Doug, and thank you for staying up late with us. We're going to leave you with video of cherry blossoms in bloom in Washington, D.C. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's take care of ourselves and each other.